Okay, take two with doing this video. Finally, I can do my College Hill Celebrity Edition review for episodes 7 and 8. Um, this has really been enjoyable. I really enjoyed it. I've learned a lot from watching this. Um, if I do decide to ever go back to college, I would love to possibly go to a HBCU for sure, because this has definitely made me, it's inspired the children. Let's get into it. Okay. So, y'all know from where we left off last time, child. Amber and Jocelyn had gotten into the whole fight. It got pretty nasty. And, so this is the aftermath of this. And they are sitting down talking to Dr. Petty and the other gentleman's, not the other gentleman, the guy's name that was there with Dr. Petty. I'm not sure who he was. They said his name, but I forgot. My bad, sir. But yeah, they're basically talking down to Amber and Jocelyn separately, talking to them about what the issue is and what's the outcome of them fighting in the classroom. Amber goes first. Amber, she was just like, hey, Dr. Petty, what's good? And she was just like, well, the tea is that, I was chilling, sitting down. Jocelyn, she started to attack me. She started to say all kinds of stuff about me. Saying that I just want to be white. I got triggered from what I've been through growing up. And I got up and hit her. I was wrong. Jocelyn was being racist towards me and whoop to whoop, which is impossible for a black person to be racist. But hey, we can be prejudiced and we can be an a-hole and everything else. But racist, no, we ain't got no power in that right to be, because racism is a whole institution. So anyway, but she did that whole thing. Dr. Petty told Amber, she was just like, look, at the end of the day, we uphold a certain standard at this university, and you cannot put your hands on nobody. These classrooms are safe spaces for people to have all kinds of dialect and for people to express themselves in amicable way. And you brought that Philly shit up in here, and so you got to go. And it's as simple as that. And Amber, she just couldn't believe it. She said, so you expect it for me to get hit? And I'm just like, well, I don't think Jocelyn was going to hit her. But Jocelyn is Jocelyn, so who knows? But yeah, and she walked out, and she was pissed off and upset, and she just couldn't understand why Dr. Petty couldn't relate to her, and whoop to whoop. And I was just like, child, we know how to pull them cards when we want some, don't we? So then here comes Jocelyn. She comes in, she's crying already like she's a little girl that's getting ready to get a whooping by her mama. And she was just like, I said what I said because, I just consider Amber black, and I can kind of relate to her and how the things that she's been through, because her being from Puerto Rico, they call her black. Y'all know colorism and all that is very heavy in the Latina X community. But she said growing up, because of her skin tone, in which Jocelyn is not dark skinned at all. She's a light-skinned Afro-Latina, but she's not as light as some, and texturism is a thing as well. And Jocelyn has, kinky textured hair and stuff. And so, all that plays into how people are going to treat you, what you're labeled as, etc. Regardless of what you actually are. We all know how race and colorism and texturism and all those things play a factor in how people are going to treat you. And so she said that people call her black in Puerto Rico, so she just considered herself black, and that's just how she identified and lived her life, as a black Puerto Rican woman. In which some people still don't get that, the art of the difference between ethnicity and race and all that kind of stuff. And I get how it's confusing, for sure. There's a lot of stuff that I had to learn on my own and just reading and stuff. But there is a difference. And once people fully understand that clear difference between ethnicity and race, everything will make more sense. In terms of how somebody can be Afro-Latina, or how somebody can be, black, but like a black German or whatever, you know. So anyway, Jocelyn, she couldn't understand why she was getting ready to get kicked out of school. She said, well, the professor was just like, well, was the doctor, was she trying to get you to calm down? Was she constantly calling your name? And were you constantly ignoring her? And she was just like, well, she would call everybody name. And Jocelyn just couldn't get it. Because, you know, Jocelyn ain't got no coof and all that. And she was just like, it's just not right. I got all A's in my classes. And it's just freedom of speech. I said what I said. I said how I felt. Now, I want to go on the record and say I don't disagree with what Jocelyn said. Jocelyn is pretty much right about that, Amber. However, it's just timing. It's the way that you say things to people. It was the badgering. It was the fact that the teacher kept trying to get you to stop, but you wouldn't stop. You wouldn't even turn around and look at her and pay her no attention. It's the fact that you was just in a mode of attack mode. You know, in which even if she would have said that to Amber in a more calm voice, in a more civilized manner, Amber still would have, you know, disagreed and did whatever she did, whatever. But it was just how Jocelyn did everything. But Amber was still wrong for putting her hands on her. So they ended up kicking both of them out of school, and I felt like that was the right decision to make. At the end of the day, it wouldn't have been right to keep one over the other. They both played a part. Amber definitely shouldn't have hit her. But Jocelyn was just going at her constantly. So there you go. Even later on, Ray J had a conversation with Jocelyn, and she was still not remorseful for it. You know, I'm all here for somebody standing on their stuff of what they did and stuff. But at the same time, it's just a time and a place for everything. And every person is not the right person to deliver a message, especially such a message such as that to somebody else. Because, you know, Jocelyn just says whatever, however she says it, and you're just supposed to take it. And if you challenge it, it's a fight. So, I don't know. But Amber definitely tried to carry her way through the situation. I was just like, girl. Amber, we've been watching you all season. And I'm sure Jocelyn's confused about Amber and stuff because Amber takes up space in black spaces. She does not consider herself black and all that, which I agree. Because her mom is half black and then her dad is fully white, so she's not black. She can consider herself mixed or white, but to say that she is a black woman as if she's just an everyday black woman, as if she's a black woman like a Tiffany or something, and that would just be inaccurate. But you know, she's confused because she takes up spaces in black spaces, and she is Amber Rose because of black people. So you know, whatever. Amber, she comes back to the house, and she talks to everybody. You know, Parker's crying and upset, and she's upset with Jocelyn because she's biracial too, and all that kind of stuff. And she just can fully relate to Amber and yada yada. In which I'm not biracial, so I can't speak too much to that. But Parker, both you and Amber are biracial, but you're black passing, and she's not. Like you're still gonna have different experiences, even though y'all both benefit in the black community because of colorism and all that good stuff. I say good loosely. Y'all are still gonna have different experiences because you're a little darker than Amber, honey. So you are with a different hair texture, so you're still gonna be labeled a certain way over Amber, who could actually pass, you know. So it's a deep conversation, race, color, all that stuff. You know, a lot of people don't want to have the conversations, and I understand because it is uncomfortable, but it's real life. And it needs to be discussed more, especially with black men. More, but black men don't ever talk about nothing of importance half the time. So, you know, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Okay, so moving on from that. They had a field trip to the Harris family home, which is a home now owned by Vada Harris Montgomery, her parents' home in Montgomery, Alabama. And it was basically a place, a safe space, a safe home for people like Dr. King and people who worked in civil rights movements. They would rally there, they would come up with their plans there. They would just come and just talk, and their parents, Dr. Vada's parents would just provide a safe space for them. They would feed them and they would spend the night and all that kind of stuff, because they would, just be there in Montgomery. They couldn't figure out what house they were at, but they were there just, getting their game plans and mindsets and stuff together based on what if this happened, if we get arrested, etc. It was such a powerful scene in there, and I actually got emotional watching that. I was just like, oh, it's just so much history. It's so much history. Let me see. And Dr. King was like an uncle to her. She grew up watching him and stuff. So very cool. Iman, he had a sewing class, which was cool. He has a clothing line. He wants to learn how to sew and stuff. And Iman is so likable. I really like him. Let me see. Tiffany, she was trying to seduce on Ryan. She has a thing with washing niggas' backs and stuff and filling up on. I don't know. I think she just misses her dog. And she like giving people baths and rubbing on them. And I don't know. It was a little cringy, but hey, it was also funny. There's nothing serious between Orion and Tiffany. Child saw for the show, shits and giggles. New York is will forever be funny to me. Okay. So they have a house meeting with Dr. Yaba Blaze. She wrote the book, The One Drop, basically talking about colorism and stuff. And in particular in New Orleans, where she grew up at, she was fascinated by people who did not look like her, who did not look black, but was just as proud of their blackness as she was, being a darker skinned black woman. Parker briefly, she talked about her experience of being biracial. She said a lot of these conversations are uncomfortable for her. And she was just like, well, why are they uncomfortable? She was just like, because she just wants to be me. She don't want to be put into a box, blah, blah, blah. Parker, you will never be considered white. But I get you, sis. I understand what you're saying. Parker's the cutest that little face. I just see little Katie all day. She's just so cute, them cheeks. But we get you, Parker, child. And but she was just like, and I understand that we all want to be me, the doctor, but she was just like, colorism is real, and more value is held in lighter skinned than darker skin, and that's true tea. True tea. One person that should have been there was Raymond. Willie. Ray J. He definitely should have been there. One of the main people who exhibits certain behavior as far as when he's picking his women's as well. But he was not there for whatever reason. So the last scene was Jocelyn. It was her time to come back to the house. Quay and Parker, their team Amber, and they had went to go watch a movie. They said that I would rather watch the newest Blue's Clues movie or whatever than see Jocelyn. So they didn't see Jocelyn off, but everybody else was there and, toasted to Jocelyn being gone. Okay, so the last and final episode is episode 8. This was their finals, child. This was the end. This was it. In their African American literature class, which is my favorite class, the class that Amber and Jocelyn fought in. Excuse me, y'all. Allergies, ridiculous. In that class, they went to the Legacy Museum, all of them, and the professor, she basically wanted them to pick out a certain part that meant the most to them in the Legacy Museum, and then we went to the history class. And in the history class, their final project was they would be put in groups of 2, and each group would talk about a particular civil rights movement that inspired the Black Southern civil rights movement. And so Orion and Iman, they were put together. They were going to talk about the Black Power movement. And then Ray J and Quay, they were put together. They were going to talk about the gay liberation movement. And then Tiffany and Parker, they were put together and they were going to talk about the Indian liberation movement. So, but before all that, they had a forensics class where they would like investigate a crime scene and stuff. That looked like so much fun. They said they were sad because it's one thing that Amber was looking forward to. But Philly came out and, the Philly hands got her sent home. So she didn't get to experience the forensic class. It do seem like fun though, for real. They put Ray J as the police officer, and you can't put a Ray J in charge of nothing because he just acts a fool and takes it to the extreme. But it was funny though. Him and Tiffany was getting into it. So it was cool. Then later on they showed that they went out to party and stuff. It was like their last little like hoorah moment. Okay, so everybody's stressing out. Everybody is, really trying to cram hard. Everybody stood up all night and stayed up all night, and it was just tough. It was tough on everybody because they all wanted to do well, and everybody was kind of fighting to be valedictorian. Okay, so we get to the African American literature class. Now remember, this is the class where each person will talk about an important topic that meant something to them when they visited the Legacy Museum. So, let me see. Parker, she talked about the interracial dating movement. She says, I think it was between the years of 1850 and 1948. Interracial dating was like illegal or whatever. And so that meant something to her. And she talked about that, her being biracial and all that stuff. And so that was cool. So then Ray J, he talked about the like entertainment aspect and how a lot of people who he saw who meant a lot to Black history, groundbreaking actors and actresses such as Cicely Tyson, and people who were in the civil rights movement such as Shirley Chisholm, Martin Luther King, etc. People who did a lot for Black people who are like known, and he talked about how he did a movie called Aftershock with Cicely Tyson, which I've never seen. And he talked about how just amazing and stuff that she was. And, rest in peace to Cicely Tyson. What a legend. Tiffany, she says that basically the Legacy Museum just made her want to be a better person in general, a better Black woman, and more in her community and stuff like that. Everybody's little speeches, it was very nice. So then we got to the civil rights class where they're in the groups, right? And Ray J and Quay, remember they had the gay liberation movement. And basically they just summed it up to it takes a person that's not in the community to stand up for the community for everybody else to pay attention to. Like when it comes to the whole Black Lives Matters movement, when it comes to racism and all that, it's going to take white people to come along and stand with us for those white people to fully understand it and get it and absorb it, the ones who are not for us. So, and I was just like, yeah. I'm here for it. Yeah. Okay, so then it was Parker and Tiffany. They talked about the Indian movement, which, is a very marginalized community. Shouts out to all my Indian people. And, and everything they went through and things that have been taken away from them and just everything. It's just been really, really rough. So shouts out to all them. Iman and Orion. The Black movement, Black Power movement. We know about that, child. We still in it. Okay, so the last final that I didn't talk about was the acting final. Which the teacher is just so fun. He be reading the people I live. And so on this final, basically everybody had to come up with a metaphor and they was going to describe a big issue they've been through in their life and put it in a metaphoric moment, and basically just act out a scene and all that kind of stuff. It was really deep. I really out of everything on this episode, I enjoyed this the most. Orion, he talked about how sandcastle. His whole thing was like a sandcastle. I forgot the actual quote or metaphor, but he talked about how he had success early in his career, and then it kind of just left. It kind of depleted, and like a sandcastle, everything he had just kind of went down. And he just talked about how now he's just chilling and working on rebuilding and just taking life as it comes. Iman, he talked about his father, how his father is very influential in his life. How his father, he never saw his father sweat. He was such a hard worker, still is, and how he is inspired by his dad, but he often wonders who's going to be there for him, who's going to be his rock when he's not feeling well or can't do it. And I was just like, well, Tiana, right? Okay, so then Parker, she talked about her daughter and how her daughter is, her motivation and kind of saved her life in a sense. Quay, he had the cutest little skit where he basically talked about his character TT and how he's given so much to that character and he don't really know, hasn't really mastered the art of existing outside of his character TT, because he feels like people want TT, they don't want Quay. And so he's in this space where he just wants to be Quay and do Quay and stuff. And he was just like, he is TT, but it's now time for the world to accept Quay. Then it was Tiffany's turn. Maybe when I tell you I hollered. Tiffany was just so extra. She's so effortlessly funny and she don't even realize it. She says that she's done with looking for Tiffany through a man. It's time for her to look for Tiffany through Tiffany. And she said for anybody who don't like it, they can kiss her black ice. I said, then she pat her ass. The teacher stood up clapping. I was hollering. Tiffany is, that New York is one of a kind. She tries her best to just be Tiffany, but New York always comes out. This is so funny. Last but not least, it was Ray J. And his was very interesting. He talked about his greatest misery of just not caring. He said his whole life he just wanted success in the entertainment industry. And he ended up getting success, but not in the way that he wanted, but he just went with it. He got a reputation of being a bad boy very early on and being a party boy. And he just went with it because fame, good fame or bad fame, at the end of the day is fame. So we gonna take it how it come, right? And I was just like, Lord have mercy. Ray is interesting. Even when Ray's being serious, he seemed like he's just acting and playing the whole time. But I guess he was serious, and it was very deep, and I enjoyed it. Let me see. Tiffany and Orion, she watched this back one more time before, the the graduation. She gave him a bath one more time. And, we get to the actual graduation, the last day. Quay looked so good in his suit. He was sharp as a tack. You hear me? And so it was nice to see the people's family came. We saw a princess. She came with the kids. We saw Orion's family. I think that was his mom and maybe brother or cousins or something. We saw some people there for Tiffany. I think maybe it was her dad, one of them. Parker, we saw her little baby, and I think maybe her mom and friend or sister or something. And did nobody come for Iman? What was Tiana doing? Or Iman got siblings? I think he do. But anyway, some people came there for Quay, and it was cute to see the family and stuff. Orion graduated with honors. Tiffany honors, Parker honors, Ray J honors, Iman honors, Quay honors. They all had honors, right? But now it was time to recognize some students who was top of the class, right? Because everybody was fighting for valedictorian. Who ended up winning salutatorian was Parker. We all thought she was going to win valedictorian. And child, valedictorian went to Iman and Orion. It was a tie. I was shocked by that. I was really shocked by that. It's amazing. Truly amazing. Ray J, he could have did the he could have won valedictorian if he would have applied himself a little more. Because Iman left too, Ray J, so you can't say nothing now. Iman left too. But he came back and ended up being valedictorian. Amazing. Amazing. But we proud of you, Ray J, for graduating. I got emotional during the graduation because I always cry during graduations. Because graduating school, especially college, is not And I know this is just a show, and I know the tea, but still, it's an accomplishment, and it's something that they probably always wanted to do, but because of their careers, they wasn't able to, or whatever, life. And so, yeah, I love watching the College Hill Celebrity Edition. It's really inspiring to me for some reason. I would love to go to a HBCU if I was to go back to college. I've never been to a university. I graduated at community college. But if I was to go to a university, I would love to go to HBCU for sure. It's just beautiful. It's just beautiful. The entire experience was great. It would have been nice had Jocelyn and Amber not fought and would have experienced this whole thing with them. But maybe they'll let them come back. I don't know. But I enjoyed it, and that was my College Hill reviews, child. Y'all stay tuned for everything else I'm doing. As of right now, if this show come back, I will review it. How about that? I just like it that much. With that said, I'm MrChalaki. MrChalaki on Google Plus. Follow me at @TheSkizzle on Instagram and Twitter, at @TheSkizzle89 on Snapchat, Chase King on Facebook, MrChalaki on Cash App and PayPal, Chasey Boy on TikTok. And with that said, run me my money or run me my fade. Run me my money the way I get paid. Stay black, stay tuned, stay educated. And I'll see you guys later. Bye.